Today, it feels almost normal when Disney adapts one of their rides into a movie. We've had The Haunted Mansion, twice, Jungle Cruise, and of course the juggernaut that is Pirates of the Caribbean. But in the 90s, the idea was still brand new. Could a theme park attraction really support an entire story on its own? Disney decided to test those waters in 1997 with Tower of Terror. It wasn't a theatrical release, but a made for TV movie tied directly to the then new attraction at Walt Disney World. The choice was bold. Unlike the Haunted Mansion, which already had decades long reputation, or Pirates of the Caribbean, which had legions of fans, Tower of Terror was barely 3 years old when Disney rolled the dice on it. That made it something of a guinea pig, Disney's first real attempt to see if park rides could double as intellectual property for film, and while it never became a phenomenon, it quietly paved the way for the bigger, flashier attempts that followed. In hindsight, it's the prototype that showed Disney how tricky but also how lucrative this kind of experiment could be. Part of the fascination here is just how quickly Disney moved. Most rides need years to cement themselves as iconic before anyone could dream of adapting them. But Tower of Terror was different. It had atmosphere, lore, and built-in story hook about a mysterious hotel and an elevator plunge gone wrong. It almost begged for a movie treatment, even if the result was smaller in scale than what would come later. It also highlights how much Disney was willing to experiment on television. This wasn't a summer blockbuster with a massive budget, it was an ABC movie of the week aimed at families gathered around the TV. In that sense, Tower of Terror feels like a time capsule, capturing the era when Disney's TV movies carried a bit of ambition, even if they weren't destined for theaters. So, before the age of billion-dollar pirate blockbusters, there was a ghost story made for TV, small in scope but significant in legacy. A film that proved even a 3-year-old ride could be spun into something more. And that brings us to Tower of Terror from 1997. The movie kicks off with an eerie tale that takes us back to Halloween night, 1939. Inside the glamorous Tip Top Club, perched atop the Hollywood Tower Hotel, a lively crowd sways to the music, champagne flows, and the place is buzzing with old Hollywood energy. You can practically smell the perfume and cigarette smoke through the screen. It's that kind of decadent. Reporters crowd the dance floor, desperate to snap photos of a young starlet who just arrived at the party, because in this era, fame and tragedy often shared the same elevator. The camera glides through the ballroom past glittering chandeliers and laughing guests, capturing the hotel in its prime, before everything goes wrong. It's a fantastic opening, part nostalgic fantasy, part foreboding ghost story. A group of partygoers step into the ornate elevator, blissfully unaware that their glamorous night is about to take a supernatural detour. As the elevator ascends, a sudden bolt of lightning slams into the building. The lights flicker, the power dies, and in one eerie flash, the guests vanish without a trace. It's campy, it's creepy, and it's the exact kind of the over-the-top setup that makes you lean forward, wondering how a Disney movie is going to spin this Twilight Zone-style mystery. Cut to the present day and the tone shifts completely. We open on a guy cutting into what looks like an alien, only for him to scream when a person inside the costume pops up. It's a goofy little fake out that perfectly sets the tone. Spooky story, yes, but don't take it too seriously. Another guy storms in furious and fires him on the spot. That man is Buzzy Crocker, played by Steve Guttenberg. Yes, the 3 men and a baby guy. And yes, this is one of his more interesting career turns. We learn that Buzzy used to be a newspaper reporter until a false story cost him his job, and now he's slumming it writing sensational tabloid pieces for a supermarket rag. The girl in the alien costume? That's his niece Anna, played by a young Kirsten Dunst, who somehow manages to steal every scene she is in even before Spider-Man made her a household name. She's tagging along, helping her uncle stage photos for his latest fake alien story. Buzzy explains his philosophy bluntly. The truth doesn't sell. Everything's fake except sports and obituaries, he says with a straight face. You can tell this guy's been around the journalism block a few too many times. Anna pushes back, asking if he ever wanted to write a real story, and you can see the spark of conscience flicker across his face. Just for a second. It's a surprisingly thoughtful setup for a Disney TV movie about ghosts and elevators. Anna's mom Trish shows up and thanks Buzzy for watching Anna as he takes off in his usual whirlwind fashion. Trish sighs that maybe someday Buzzy will finally grow up, but Anna, ever the loyal niece, says she hopes not. It's a sweet little exchange that shows just how much fun their uncle-niece dynamic is, and how much Anna actually admires his quirky spirit. Trish tries to wrangle her daughter into helping plant trees, a task Buzzy was supposed to do but conveniently forgot. Anna, not missing a beat, bolts off with the classic kid excuse of having homework to finish. That quick moment says a lot about their dynamic. Anna clearly looks up to her uncle's reckless charm, even if everyone else just finds it exhausting. We head to the Los Angeles Banner, the paper that once showed Buzzy the door, where an employee nervously informs the editor that he's back. Again. The editor sighs. Clearly, this is not the first uninvited visit, and instructs her assistant to tell him she's unavailable, but to be nice about it. Of course, that doesn't stop Buzzy. He strolls right into the office with the confidence of a man who refuses to take a hint. He launches into a pitch about a huge story he's ready to break, trying to sound like his old reporter self. Jill, the editor, isn't buying it. Their banter quickly makes it clear that there's some history here. They used to date. Buzzy, ever the charmer, insists she misses him and even tries to turn the meeting into a date proposal, which is both audacious and painfully on brand for him. That moment really drives home just how shamelessly persistent Buzzy is, even when he's clearly out of his league. Buzzy runs into his neighbor outside who casually tells him there's a ghost hanging around his apartment. Just another normal day in Los Angeles, apparently. Sure enough, when Buzzy heads upstairs, his front door is open, and sitting calmly inside is an older woman who introduces herself as Abigail. She tells Buzzy he looks exactly as she imagined. He's confused. He's never seen her before. But she insists she knows him. Turns out she's a fan of his tabloid stories, which should have been his first red flag. Abigail says she has a story that will make his career and pulls out an old photo of the Hollywood Tower Hotel. The mention immediately gets Buzzy's attention. It's the site of a famous mystery where 5 people vanished in an elevator decades ago, including child star Sally Shine. Abigail claims she knows what really happened that night because she was there. She explains that she once lived in the hotel and conveniently, Halloween also happens to be her birthday. Already, this woman is giving off serious, creepy exposition lady vibes. She shows him a photo of Sally's nanny, Emmeline Partridge, and drops the bombshell. Emmeline was a witch. According to Abigail, her black magic caused the entire disappearance. She describes following Emmeline into the basement where she saw her casting a spell that cursed Sally and accidentally doomed everyone else in the elevator. Buzzy understandably doesn't buy it, but Abigail insists she's telling the truth and that no one has ever believed her before. She even gives him a key to the hotel's basement, claiming Emmeline's spellbook is still there, waiting to be found. When Buzzy brushes it off, saying he just makes stories up, she stares him down and tells him she knows he's meant to tell the truth this time. The memories, she says, are too painful for her to return herself. It's the perfect setup for a ghost story. One part mystery, one part maybe don't trust the lady who randomly breaks into your apartment. Buzzy arrives at the Hollywood Tower Hotel, and it's clear the place has seen far better days. The building looms over him like it's daring anyone to step inside. As he explores the overgrown courtyard, he hears something moving. Because, of course, he does. And decides to investigate like every curious horror protagonist who's clearly never seen a scary movie. Out of nowhere, a guy jumps out and scares him half to death. This is Chris Todd, who goes by Q, the self proclaimed quartermaster of the hotel. Buzzy was actually supposed to meet him there, though Q seems to take way too much joy in giving him a heart attack first. Q explains that Halloween is his busy season since everyone wants a piece of the hotel's infamous mystery. He also drops the bomb that his grandfather, Dewey Todd, was the bellhop who disappeared that night in the elevator. It's a neat little twist that ties him directly to the hotel's ghostly history. According to Q, no one can buy or reopen the property until someone figures out what's really happening all those years ago. He lets Buzzy in but refuses to go any farther, claiming the place is way too haunted for his liking, which honestly feels like the smartest decision anyone makes in this entire movie. Buzzy wanders deeper into the hotel, and the atmosphere does not disappoint. It's pure haunted elegance. The set designers clearly went above and beyond, making the interior look eerily similar to the queue from the actual Tower of Terror attraction, right down to the cobweb chandeliers and faded grandeur. He finds a single flower outside and, for reasons unknown, decides to place it in a vase on the hotel desk. Like that's going to liven the place up. As he explores, he passes an owl statue whose eyes suddenly glow red, which is never a good sign. Then comes the obligatory jump scare. Buzzy peers under a desk and a bat shoots out, sending him stumbling back. Classic move, Disney. He eventually uncovers a dusty old book, convinced it's the same spellbook Abigail mentioned earlier. But just as he starts to feel triumphant, things get creepier. When he returns to the lobby, the flower he set out has vanished. The book's pages flip on their own, and a pin drops from nowhere, landing exactly where his hand was moments ago. It's subtle, but it builds that perfect blend of mystery and unease. As he walks past a mirror, Emmeline briefly appears, poking her head out before disappearing again. A blink and you'll miss it scare that actually lands pretty well. Buzzy, in a pure moment of horror movie logic, starts reading aloud from the spellbook, because what could possibly go wrong? Trish bursts in mid incantation, exasperated, telling him he needs to focus on helping her instead of chasing ghost stories. Buzzy, undeterred, asks if Anna can dress up as a ghost for his next story idea. Trish reminds him that he supposedly wants a true story this time and snaps that he's not dragging Anna into another one of his stunts, especially after the last time when things nearly ended with Anna almost losing her head. Literally. Anna walks in just in time to hear all this and insists she wants to help. She believes in her uncle and wants to see him back in a real newspaper again. You can see the flicker of pride on Buzzy's face. It's the closest thing he gets to an emotional moment before heading right back into his mischief. And just like that, the two gear up for their next big adventure. Straight to the Tower Hotel where absolutely nothing could go wrong. Q and Buzzy chat while Buzzy tries to get more details about the hotel's supposed ghosts. When he asks what they look like, Q sheepishly admits he's never actually been inside. That doesn't inspire confidence. Meanwhile, Anna is less than thrilled with the costume Buzzy has cobbled together to look like Sally. It's giving more of a thrift store Halloween than vintage Hollywood. Right on cue, a woman named Claire Poulette arrives saying she's heard Buzzy was looking for an actress. Buzzy sizes her up and immediately decides she's too young to play Emmeline. But as he turns to leave, his sudden change of heart and his obvious crush convinces him she'll do just fine. Before they can argue about it, music starts echoing through the empty hotel. Faint but unmistakable, and everyone freezes. Buzzy goes to investigate, drawn towards the faint sounds of party echoing through the hotel's empty halls. The music is muffled and distant, but when he finally reaches the room it's coming from, nothing. The space is completely deserted, the air thick with dust and silence. Naturally, Anna ignores his orders to stay behind and sneaks in after him. The two creep through the dark corridors, the tension building with every creak of the floorboards. They hear someone softly singing the nursery rhyme, "It's raining, it's pouring," and trace it to a cupboard that seems to be rattling on its own. When they open it, there's nothing inside. The quiet is quickly replaced by a faint drizzle, rain falling from the ceiling out of nowhere, and a little girl suddenly appears dancing in the downpour singing the rhyme. It's a surprisingly effective moment, eerie enough to send a chill down your spine, but still tame enough to keep things kid-friendly. Anna, clearly done with ghost hunting for the night, whispers that she wants to leave, and just like that, the vision vanishes. Before they can process what has happened, a cart rolls out of the shadows carrying a body. It suddenly sits upright, revealing a headless figure clutching a knife. The two scream and bolt from the building, racing to find Q and Claire outside. Out of breath but buzzing with adrenaline, Buzzy insists that this is proof. Real ghosts, real story, real comeback. He's ecstatic and declares they're coming back tomorrow, on Halloween, of course, because when has that ever gone wrong in a ghost story? Back at the newspaper, Jill is doing her best to avoid Buzzy, but of course he tracks her down anyway. He bursts into her office excitedly, claiming that the Hollywood Tower Hotel story is real this time. Jill, unimpressed, reminds him that everyone already knows about the disappearances. But Buzzy insists he's uncovered why it happened. He leans in, eyes wide, declaring that the missing guests are ghosts still haunting the hotel. Jill has had enough. She tells him to leave and asks why the stories can't ever just be about the truth. Buzzy looks genuinely hurt as he walks out, and for the first time, Jill's frustration gives way to something softer. Watching him go, she quietly tells her assistant to look up the background information on Abigail, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, part of her wants to believe he's right. Buzzy heads home dejected that Jill refused to take his story. Meanwhile, Anna is sitting with Abigail, who launches into a chilling explanation of what really happened that night. She claims Emmeline used black magic to banish Sally to the underworld, using a strand of her hair as part of the spell. But because she didn't have a piece from the other people in the elevator, the magic only half worked, leaving everyone else trapped in limbo within the hotel's walls. Abigail insists the only way to break the curse is to use the spell book and gather personal items from each of the victims. Her voice softens as she admits she's carried the burden of that night her entire life, and now wants a chance to set things right. It's one of those scenes that gives the story real emotional weight, blurring the line between sympathy and suspicion. You can't quite tell if she's trying to help or hiding something deeper. Buzzy stays up late poring over the spellbook and jotting down notes like a man possessed. You can tell this story has gotten under his skin. When Anna quietly asks why it matters so much to him, he pauses. The visual smirk's gone from his face. He admits that he hasn't written anything meaningful in a long time, something that actually feels real. It's a rare, sincere moment for Buzzy, and you can sense that this ghost story might be about more than just chasing headlines. It's about proving to himself that he still has it. Q gives Buzzy and Anna a quick history lesson on the other people who vanished that night: Gilbert London, a charming actor, and Carolyn Cresson, a singer who never got to perform her big number. He even brings them Dewey's old bellhop hat, which they'll need to complete the spell. Abigail warns them ominously to beware of Emmeline, reminding them that the evil never really dies. That line feels like the kind of line that is ripped straight from an old ghost story, and it lands perfectly here. Right then, Claire arrives for the acting gig Buzzy hired her for. Still a bit unsure of what she's gotten herself into. Anna tries to convince Q to tag along, but he's not having it. Ghost hunting isn't part of his job description. Inside the hotel, Buzzy and Claire start setting up photos, and Buzzy is immediately smitten. He can't stop hyping her up half as a director and half as a man, clearly dazzled. Claire admits this is her second acting job. The first one didn't pan out. Buzzy gives her a trademark pep talk, assuring her she hasn't gotten her big break yet, but Claire, clearly more grounded, says maybe she's just not good enough. As they talk, she turns the question back on him, calling him a hotshot reporter. Buzzy laughs it off, admitting the title doesn't really apply anymore. His career tanked after someone fed him a fake video, and ever since, no one in journalism will touch him. For a brief moment, his usual bravado fades, replaced by something almost vulnerable. But then, as quickly as it comes, it's gone. He's back to talking about how the news story will make him big again. Claire's expression shifts. She thought he wanted to help the ghost, not just chase fame. Disappointed, she tells him so, and Buzzy fires back, asking why he should care about a bunch of moldy old ghosts he doesn't even know. It's a sharp moment that perfectly sums up where he's at. Someone desperate to reclaim his past glory, even if it means ignoring what's right in front of him. Anna ventures into the hotel alone, determined to piece together where the actor and singer had stayed the night they vanished. The camera lingers as a shadow passes behind her, adding a subtle jolt of tension. She rifles through the dusty remnants of the past, discovering a letter addressed to Gilbert with a pair of spectacles tucked inside, followed by a luggage claim check belonging to Carolyn. The clues feel almost too perfect, as if someone wanted her to find them. As Anna examines her findings, an inkwell on the nearby desk starts trembling. The ink spills and begins crawling across the page on its own, forming a shape like it's alive. Trying to keep calm, Anna whispers that she's here to help. Her words seem to summon the ghosts themselves. The elevator passengers suddenly materialize, surrounding her in the dim light. She pleads again that she only wants to help, but Emmeline appears, her face cold and distant, and orders Anna to leave them alone before fading into mist. Moments later, Sally appears, softer and kinder, telling Anna they need to fix the elevator and get to the party. Then she too disappears. Shaken but determined, Anna sprints out of the hotel to tell Buzzy everything that she just witnessed. The story shifts to a mental hospital where Joe arrives to speak with Abigail. The doctor explains that Abigail has been institutionalized since the spring of 1940 and has only recently been deemed well enough to leave the grounds. That short scene adds an eerie layer, reminding us that whatever Abigail's been through, it's haunted her for decades. Anna rushes to tell Buzzy everything she's uncovered. Using Carolyn's luggage claim check, they track down her old bag and start digging through it, brushing off decades of dust and mystery. Inside, Anna finds a locket and proudly shows Buzzy, only for a champagne cork to pop out of nowhere, sending both of them jumping. Suddenly, Gilbert materializes, followed by Dewey and Sally, and the room erupts into chaos as the ghosts begin bickering like they've been waiting 60 years to argue. In the middle of all this spectral drama, Buzzy and Anna realize something shocking. Claire Poulette, the actress Buzzy hired, isn't just some random extra. She's actually Carolyn Cresson, the singer who vanished at the hotel all those years ago. Back at the hospital, Joe and the doctor arrive at Abigail's room only to find it empty. The doctor unlocks the door, puzzled, and explains that Abigail was actually Sally Shine's sister, a twist that suddenly reframes everything we've heard so far. Before Joe can ask more questions, his pager goes off and he rushes out, leaving her alone to process what she just learned. Back at the hotel, the ghosts gather around Buzzy and Anna, finally speaking openly after decades of silence. Gilbert mentions that Carolyn adored the flower Buzzy had placed in the vase, a small but touching gesture that hasn't gone unnoticed. The conversation takes a somber turn as Gilbert blames Dewey for the accident, insisting that it was his fault since he was running the elevator that night. The group reflects on the tragedy, mourning the fact that they never made it to the party they were so eager to attend. Carolyn admits that even after all these years, none of them truly understand why it happened. Anna steps forward, her voice steady, and tells them she believes she knows the truth, that Emmeline wasn't responsible. Just then, Emmeline materializes, cool and unbothered, claiming she thought she had already scared everyone off. Anna confronts her, accusing her of trapping the others with black magic. But Emmeline shakes her head and insists she loves Sally as if she were her own daughter. The tension in the room thickens as Buzzy processes her words, realizing that if Emmeline wasn't the one casting the spell, then someone else must have been. Back at the hospital, Jill remains in Abigail's room, curiosity getting the better of her. She opens a large trunk sitting in the center of the room and quickly notices that it has a false top. Hidden beneath it are disturbing mementos, old photo, clippings, and letters that reveal years of resentment towards Sally. As Jill pieces it together, the story cuts to Abigail at the front gates of the hotel laughing to herself, confirming that something much darker is in motion. The doctor enters, catching Jill in the act, and his calm demeanor vanishes. He admits that if he'd known about these discoveries, he never would have allowed Abigail's release. With growing tension, he warns Jill to drop it, saying he'll deny everything and have her arrested for trespassing if she pushes the matter any further. Buzzy and Anna stand before the elevator as Emmeline explains that reaching the long-awaited party will finally break the curse. Determined, Buzzy declares that they're going to fix it, and Q, reluctantly drafted into the plan, will lend a hand. Gilbert, ever the pessimist, mutters that they're doomed anyway since Q happens to be related to Dewey, the same bellhop blamed for the disaster. The exchange balances humor and dread, capturing that perfect mix of tension and Disney-friendly charm. Hugh hesitates, saying the elevator is too old to fix and that he's just a lousy car mechanic, not an engineer. Buzzy keeps pressing him, using every ounce of his reporter charm to convince him to help. But Q flat out refuses, admitting he's too scared to even step inside the place. Anna steps in and tells him that Dewey believes in him, that his grandfather is counting on him to finish what he couldn't. That's enough to sway him, and after a long pause, Q finally agrees to help. Just then, Jill shows up and confronts Buzzy for not telling her the full truth about Abigail. He lays it all out. Abigail's jealousy towards Sally Shine wasn't just petty, it's festered for decades, and now that Sally is even more famous in death, it's probably worse. Jill reminds Buzzy that she needs his story by tomorrow, but Anna is furious that he seems more focused on headlines than helping the ghosts. Buzzy asks Jill to give him just 24 more hours, but Anna's had enough. They argue. He says he's waited his whole life for a shot like this, and she fires back that the ghosts have been waiting 60 years. Buzzy storms off, leaving Anna disillusioned. As she and Q walk away, a closet door creaks open behind them. Abigail steps out, clutching Sally's lock of hair, her face twisting into a grin as she starts to laugh. Back at the hotel, the group manages to get the power restored, the lights flickering back to life in the dusty old lobby. Q still lingered by the entrance, hesitant to step inside despite everything they've been through. When Dewey suddenly appears before him, Q nearly jumps out of his skin. Dewey calmly explains the situation, reassuring his grandson that he's been waiting for this moment for decades. The heartfelt exchange finally gives Q the courage he needs. He takes a deep breath, steps forward, and agrees to help them finish what Dewey started. Back at the newspaper, Buzzy suddenly realizes he's made a terrible mistake and bolts from his desk. He frantically digs through his things, searching for the spellbook while Jill watches confused. She offhandedly remarks that Abigail probably thinks she's a witch, and that's when it clicks. Buzzy freezes, the realization hitting him all at once, before blurting out that they need to get to the hotel immediately. Hugh struggles to get the elevator circuits working, his tools sparking and nerves clearly shot. Meanwhile, Abigail lurks through the darkened hallways of the hotel, her presence growing more menacing with every flicker of lightning outside. The ghosts begin to hear faint music drifting through the air, the same tune from the long-lost party they never reached. Somewhere deeper in the hotel, Abigail begins chanting, her voice echoing as storm clouds gather overhead. Anna goes to grab an item for Q when she catches the sound of Abigail's voice, realizing she's casting the spell again. Panic sets in. Q finally gets the elevator running as Anna rushes to stop Abigail, pleading with her to stop the spell before it's too late. Abigail turns, eyes burning, and says the spell is already complete. The elevator, she says, will crash just as it was meant to 60 years ago. The ghosts, resigned to their fate, step onto the elevator, hoping it might finally free them. Anna begs them not to close the doors, but before she can pull Sally to safety, the door slams shut, with Anna trapped inside and Sally left behind. Buzzy and Jill arrive just as the chaos erupts inside the hotel. Buzzy races off to confront Abigail, pleading with her to stop the spell before it's too late. Abigail, shaking with anger and sorrow, finally explodes, saying that no one ever understood how everyone adored Sally, but no one cared about her. She couldn't sing, she couldn't dance, and on the night of the party, her own birthday, all anyone wanted was more of Sally's shine. Through tears, Abigail admits she'd made Sally a legend but has been haunted by that mistake for 60 years. Meanwhile, the elevator carrying Anna and the ghost grinds to a halt on the 11th floor. Outside the elevator, Sally stands beside Abigail, her expression soft but heartfelt. Buzzy gently asks Sally what she would tell her sister if she had the chance. Sally quietly says she wishes she could have told Abigail she was sorry for missing her birthday party. That the big Hollywood event everyone remembers was never about fame, but was supposed to be Abigail's celebration. Abigail's expression softens as she realizes the truth. Sally tells her she was her best friend and that she's kept Abigail's birthday gift all these years. As Sally opens her hand to reveal it, Abigail finally reveals herself to her sister, her face filled with regret. Buzzy begs her not to let the elevator fall. Abigail insists the spell can't be stopped, her voice breaking. But Buzzy argues that every curse has an opposite, that the only way to undo it is with its contrary. The problem is, Abigail doesn't know what the contrary might be. Anna frantically tells the ghost to vanish, but Gilbert says it doesn't work that way. They're stuck. Buzzy, Q, Abigail, Sally, and Jill pile into the service elevator to try and save them, racing against both time and the storm raging outside. Buzzy runs to the main elevator doors, shouting instructions as they desperately try to pry it open. Q finds an escape hatch and points it out to Anna, the two of them leaning dangerously over the elevator shaft as sparks fly. Anna jumps across the gap and Buzzy grabs her just in time, pulling her into the service elevator as thunder roars overhead. Lightning strikes, shaking the tower as the elevator plummets. In that final moment, Sally looks at Abigail and softly tells her she forgives her. Brilliant flash fills the screen and everything goes silent. The service elevator finally returns to the first floor, and to everyone's amazement, the ghosts are alive and well. Jill realizes that Sally's love for Abigail was the key. It broke the spell that has trapped them all these years. The ghosts, now free, step into the elevator one last time and ascend to the top floor, ecstatic when it actually reaches its destination. Suddenly, we're back in the grand party from decades ago, only this time the ghosts are part of it, radiant and at peace. Anna, Buzzy, Jill, and Q watch from the crowd as Carolyn takes the stage to sing. Her voice filling the ballroom with warmth as she performs. Sally rushes across the floor to embrace her parents, completing the reunion she's waited 60 years for. One by one, the ghosts begin to fade, their unfinished stories finally finding closure. Before vanishing, Gilbert proposes to Carolyn, who accepts it with a smile and blows a kiss to Buzzy. When the last of them disappear, the hotel returns to its decrepit, silent state. On the dusty counter, Buzzy notices the single flower he left there earlier, still standing. Jill leans in, kisses him softly, and in a final moment of grace, a young Abigail appears to thank Buzzy before running off hand in hand with Sally into the afterlife. We then see that the Hollywood Tower Hotel has reopened, restored to its former glory, with Q now proudly running it after the mystery's long-awaited resolution. The once haunted ballroom is now hosting a modern day party filled with laughter, music, and lights, mirroring the celebration from 1939, but this time free of ghosts and tragedy. It's a fitting full circle moment showing how the hotel and everyone connected to it finally found peace. As far as Disney's made for TV movies go, Tower of Terror holds up remarkably well. What makes it work is how grounded the story feels despite its supernatural premise. Steve Guttenberg brings an unexpected amount of charm to Buzzy. He's a flawed, washed-up journalist chasing one last shot at relevance, but Guttenberg keeps him likable. There's just enough humor and heart beneath his cynical exterior to make his redemption feel earned. You can tell Buzzy isn't just chasing ghosts, he's chasing his own past, and that layer of humanity elevates the movie beyond a simple haunted hotel gimmick. Kirsten Dunst as Anna is the perfect counterbalance to him. She's sharp, curious, and idealistic without ever slipping into the two perfect kids sidekick trope. Her dynamic with Buzzy feels genuine, like an uncle-niece duo who really care about each other, even when they drive each other crazy. Dunst brings warmth to the story, and her belief in the ghosts and in Buzzy gives the movie its emotional core. The ghosts themselves are surprisingly memorable for a TV production. Each one has just enough personality to feel distinct. Gilbert's old school movie star flair, Carolyn's gentle grace, Dewey's earnest guilt, and even Emmeline's quiet sadness all make their afterlife feel lived in. The filmmakers treat them less as horror elements and more as lost souls searching for closure, which makes the final act genuinely touching rather than spooky. Sally's innocence paired with Abigail's pain and Emmeline's misunderstood devotion gives the climax emotional weight, turning what could have been a generic curse breaking finale into a heartfelt story about forgiveness, jealousy, and misunderstood love. Plot wise, the pacing is steady and engaging. It's not packed with jump scares, but it doesn't need them. The atmosphere does the heavy lifting. The hotel's dusty Art Deco design and flickering lights capture the perfect blend of mystery and nostalgia. It feels like a movie designed to gently spook kids while giving adults something to appreciate too. The twist that Abigail's jealousy caused a tragedy rather than witchcraft still lands as a surprisingly mature theme about resentment, regret, and the power of compassion. Overall, Tower of Terror may not have had the budget of Pirates of the Caribbean or the critical attention of Haunted Mansion, but it has something these movies sometimes miss: sincerity. It embraces its ghost story roots with heart, humor, and genuine respect for its source material. For a movie built around a theme park ride, it's far better than anyone might expect, and one of Disney's most charming hidden gems from the 90s. And that's it for our Haunted Hotel adventure. So what's next in our Halloween lineup? We're shaking things up a bit this time and driving into 3 Halloween episodes from Disney Channel classics. First up, we'll check in with The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody for their ghostly stay in The Ghost in Suite 613. Then we're heading to Gravity Falls for the town's one-of-a-kind spooky holiday, Summerween. And finally, we'll wrap things up with Lizzie McGuire's Night of the Day of the Dead, where things get a little supernatural in true early 2000s fashion. It's a lineup full of nostalgia, laughs, and just the right amount of Halloween chills, Disney Channel style. Let's open the vault.